Is the MMO genre dead? Dying? To be blunt, not popular anymore. It feels like lately when people talk about MMOs, it's never in a positive light. It's always talking about why this MMO is bad, why this one is dead, and the fact that nothing good is being released anytime soon. And as much as I hate to be a Debbie Downer, I feel like there's some truth in this. More MMOs have closed down in the past 10 years than actually been published. And even when a MMO does come out, the numbers, the population, the player numbers rapidly decline just after a month. In 2024, two of the biggest MMORPGs to be released were Throne of Liberty and Tarisland. Raise your hand if you're still playing either of them. So is the future of MMOs bleak? Is it washed up as a genre? Part of the problem is developers spend 10 years making a massively multiplayer online game just for it to flop on release. However, the latest craze when it comes to the genre is releasing in early access. And it's a win-win situation. For developers, they get to release a unfinished game which they can then charge money for, all within a span of a few years, whilst also gathering feedback and suggestions on how to improve the game, so their title can be the best title it can be on launch and make even more money. And from a player perspective, you get to play a unfinished game early. Isn't that wonderful? Oh, and you get to bitch and complain about the game being a buggy, glitchy mess, and hope that they actually make the changes that you suggested, which they're probably not going to do because they have your money now. But let's not be too cynical here. There has been some good early access titles, and generally some that I'm actually looking forward to playing. So in this video, I want to do a rundown of some of the early access titles you can play in 2025 and whether they're worth playing or not. And whilst we're at it, let's take a look at some future MMOs that might just save the genre, although it's bloody not likely. So if you enjoy talking about things that are dead and irrelevant, then you might also enjoy my YouTube channel, which is also pretty dead and irrelevant right now. Please like and subscribe, I'm desperate. So without further delay, let's take a look at some early access MMOs that you can play in 2025 and whether they're actually worth your time and, most importantly, money.
Quinfall is calling you. Prepare yourself for thrilling, breathtaking sandbox MMORPG adventure. In a vast, living world spanning 2,016 kilometers square.
I think the dodgy AI voiceover pretty much sums up everything you need to know about
Quinfall.
But just in case you have been living under a rock, let me tell you a bit more about the Quinfall and the epic
MMORPG adventure.
The Quinfall is so popular that it doesn't even have a Wikipedia page. Also, notice that I'm using my own game footage and not just a trailer because I actually got to play this half-cooked monstrosity which is trying to be some Black Desert Online clone. The initial trailer, which released a couple years ago now, promised a open-world sandbox social MMORPG using the latest and greatest UE5 technology. And who's producing this MMO, you ask? Well, it is of course Variek Technology Inc., which is based in Istanbul, Turkey. They opened in 2021, great year, have a whole 6 employees, and I quote, intends to become one of the pioneers of the industry with advanced technologies and AI systems.
Are you serious?
This game has already had a number of videos calling it a scam, an asset flip.
Start off with the slam, which is clearly realistic effects pack 4 from crypto. Yeah, and there's the train. It's like 13 bucks train, there you go.
But all in all, it's just a really bad game. It's just a very shit attempt at a modern day MMORPG, and I just would not spend any money on this whatsoever. Even if I was given it for free, I'll try and trade it in for something else. Don't believe me? I mean, the Steam population speaks for itself. I'm sure the next title we're going to look at won't be anywhere near as bad. What can I say about Pax Dei which I haven't said already? There was a lot of hype and hope around Pax Dei. It promised to be another social sandbox MMORPG, of course with UE5, and the ability to craft your own little villages and hamlets and all that jazz. Everything was going well for Pax Dei until they decided to disclose how they want to monetize the game.
The following plans for monetization is thusly: a one-off initial payment for the game, a regular fee for maintaining active player status and in-game plots, supplemented with free but limited access to discover the game, fully optional additional services added down the line, and they're also considering a WoW token or EVE Online Plex-like system. Wait, what?
Son of a bitch! You done messed up, Aaron!
At the time, the game wasn't even in early access, so these were just ideas that were floating about, but either way, they seemed quite aggressive. However, what followed was 2 alpha tests and a rushed early access to Steam. It was almost like they wanted to get the game out as quick as possible because they needed the money. I mean, why else would you have 3 different tiers to choose from when buying early access, with one of them being over $100? It's a social MMO without VoIP, for fuck's sake. To be honest, if this game was still being developed and hadn't released, then people would probably have more faith in this title. But I think once again, the Steam charts speak for themselves.
Stop! He's already dead!
But even their promised roadmap has been slow in progress. The game released in early access in June 2024, and in November 2024, they're talking about such improvements to zone chat, with voice chat still only in the planning stage for this social MMO. But don't worry, they released the marketplace in in January. And let's not forget such innovations such as adding a compass. Jesus Christ, I didn't realize it was in that bad of a state. I'll tell you what, if this video gets 2,069 likes, I'll do a 100-hour review. To summarize, it's another UE5 MMO flop, and I really don't see it bouncing back anytime soon. So, save your money, don't play. Brighter Shores is what some would argue the spiritual successor to RuneScape, mainly because it was created by Andrew Gower, who also made RuneScape. It is free to play on Steam and indeed in early access. Released in November 2024, it's not the most popular early access game ever made, but it certainly has some draw to it. And I know what you're thinking, RuneScape, but up-to-date graphics, and it's free to play? That's too good to be true.
It's so dumb, it's brilliant.
No! It's just dumb!
Well, technically, it's not completely free to play. There are episodes, and after episode 2, so 3 and 4, you do have to pay a subscription. As I said, it is early access, so some features are missing, such as PvP, player-to-player trading, and the ability to party up with other players. Which really begs the question, is it a MMO, or just a single-player game with a shared world where you can see other people, but not really interact too much? I mean, you could do text chat, but honestly, if there's no trading or fighting or partying, it's kind of hard to call it a multiplayer game. But the big question is it going to replace old school RuneScape or even RuneScape 3? And quite honestly, no. I mean, the Steam charts aren't too bad.
Well, that was fucking dreadful.
Okay, that's actually shocking. But they are missing a lot of basic systems, so maybe that's why people don't want to play. That's not to say that's not a good game though, I did enjoy my time playing it, and it is free to play up until a point. So it's how early access in my eyes should be. It's very much seeking feedback without rinsing your pockets. And if we look deep inside our hearts, I think we can honestly say this game will not save the MMO genre. But it is fun to play. It's crazy to think that Pantheon Rise the Fallen was first announced on Kickstarter back in January 2014. It's taken just over 10 years for it to reach Steam as an early access title, and in that time it's had its fair share of controversies and drama. And worse still, they lost Brad McQuaid in 2019, who was not only the founder of Pantheon, but he also had a lot of knowledge and wisdom behind him, as he used to be a developer on EverQuest, one of the inspirations behind this title. But despite everything, the game is now in early access on Steam, and it's actually doing pretty well. Okay, it's only 2 months in, but when you maintain your audience as opposed to drop 90% of it, that's a win. So what does Pantheon have to offer? Well, it's what I like to call a boomer MMO. It really is aimed at those who love the classic MMO genre. We're talking tab targeting, class diversity, and most important, grouping up to do dungeons. Sure, it doesn't have the flashiest combat in the world, but neither does old school RuneScape, and everyone knows how nuts everyone is about that MMO. I sunk a few hours into Pantheon personally, and I actually liked it. It wasn't bad. The graphics are definitely a lot more of an advancement compared to the classic MMOs we've seen in the past. And it didn't go out its way to hold my hand. It was actually somewhat, I don't want to say difficult, because it's not like Elden Ring difficulty, but it certainly made me think, and I did die quite a few times. This is definitely one to sit in Discord and play with friends, and honestly, I'm looking forward to the future update. And the great thing is, they're very open about their development. In fact, if you don't believe me, you can ask their creative director personally, who actually streams on Twitch.
So Pantheon is not a scam MMO? I don't think so. I don't think so.
It goes without saying, but I feel like I have to say it anyway. If you don't like classic MMOs, then you're not going to like this, and that's perfectly fine. I actually prefer it when an MMO doesn't try to cater for everyone, and Pantheon does that just perfectly. I've played a lot of early access titles in the last year, and I have to say Project Gorgon was a pleasant surprise. I went in with very low expectations and came out actually wanting to play more of it. So much so that I plan on doing a full review. Just trying to find the time to juggle 20 different MMOs right now, but this title is very close to the top of my list. So who's behind Project Gorgon, you might be wondering? Well, it's Elder Game Studios, who is led by husband and wife duo Eric Heimberg and sadly the recently passed Sandra Powers. Combined, they have experience working on such titles as Asheron's Call 1 and 2, Star Trek Online, and even EverQuest 2. The game originated as a Kickstarter, which was launched back in 2015 and hit the Steam store in March 2018 as early access. Safe to say, it's had quite the journey. So what makes it so special, you might be wondering? Well, for starters, the combat is sort of like a hybrid tab targeting action combat. I actually quite enjoyed that. There are 16 combat skills, 71 trade skills, and 11 beast skills. And you're not restricted as to what you can learn. I mean, I was running around with a rat at one point. The questing is actually quite refreshing. I'd say it's on par with old school RuneScape. And it's just a clever MMO. For instance, I was fighting a boss which makes your head gigantic, and in doing so, my helmet fell off. It's just those little details that you gotta love. And even on the tutorial island, there were hidden secrets and more than one way to actually escape it. And the community, super friendly. Sadly though, the player base doesn't reflect how great this game is. But you know what? It doesn't matter, because you can tell this was done as a passion project as opposed to something to try and rinse the community out of their money. There's also a free demo you can try before you buy, which is always a nice asset. Me personally though, I look forward to sinking more hours into this, and I really am going to enjoy reviewing this title. So first of all, let's address the elephant in the room. Is this a true alpha, as some people put it, or is it indeed early access for over $100? The answer to this will be very much dependent on how much money you probably already sunk into the game and how much of a cultist you actually are.
This is still a work in progress. Work in progress UI and art is a work in progress.
But anyway, it doesn't matter, because you were able to play the game officially as of October 2024. Whether it be alpha or early access, you were able to log on, create a character, and finally get to experience the joy which is Ashes of Creation. For many weeks, people enjoyed this new, refreshing MMO, and that included myself, who got up to a few shenanigans. We've got people coming in.
Shit!
People coming in.
Oh shit! Shit!
Bad time.
That hurt.
Yeah, we just walked through.
Flag up! Flag up!
You don't want this heat. Oh wait, get him. Not get away with this.
Nice.
2 hours.
Oh, we're flagging up on this? No,
Here I come. Oh, here I come. Oh.
I'm not. I'm about to get railed. Oh, they're coming for me. I'm leaving.
Yeah, that 8-man group is definitely meta. They're a guild, and that guild played beta, or the alpha 1, so they know about something about that spot.
I want to say it's a beta still now. Oh, I'm naked. Oh, look at me.
Oh shoot! Because you dropped all your gear.
I lost everything.
Yeah. Damn, you're jacked though. Wait, hold up. I want that body. Like IRL.
And although there were certain bugs and obviously features missing, for the most part, it was pretty much a positive reception that this game got. Roll on December 2024, and it's now in its Phase 2 version of its alpha. What this means is that you can now play for longer, and there's apparently some more features. It's also worth noting that Phase 1 ended in a server wipe, but they promised that Phase 2 will not have the same fate. If you believe that, then you also believe that I'm 6'8" and proper hench. Reception of Phase 2 hasn't been as good as Phase 1, and there are many reasons for this. Despite collecting quite a large amount of player data in the initial Phase 1, for some reason Intrepid still insists that it should take you a whole lifetime to get to max rank or 25, which is just a placeholder max rank. Apparently the best way to test that alpha is to make the game loop basically grinding mobs to get to max rank so that you can actually be relevant in PvP if it ever does take place. Speaking of PvP, they decided that it should be very consensual and that any PvP which is done unconsensually, as in you're a red player who attacks someone out the blue, well, if you die, you basically lose a lot of gear and a lot of XP, and it's pretty much pointless doing so. To add to that, when you do die in PvP, you lose XP, which is great, apart from the fact that it takes you a lifetime to level up in this game. So guess what people don't want to do? That's right, PvP, just in case they lose XP. The only time PvP does take place is if there's an outnumbered fight going on, or if indeed you are level 25 already, because you can't go down a rank. And the fun doesn't stop there. They've implemented what is arguably one of the most boring crafting systems ever seen, and on top of that, base material, stuff that you should get at low level, is very hard to find because for some reason they thought a limited amount of crafting nodes for low level gear would be a good idea. Don't forget, this is indeed a social MMO without VoIP. Make it make sense. There's also been a few controversies. For instance, asmongold played for a whole 5 minutes and he got ganked, and the initial response to that was to turn off PvP. Although they did eventually make the starting area a non-PvP zone, which goes without saying. Why was it a PvP zone in the first place? It's so dumb. Oh, and you can't PvP till level 5 now, because apparently it took asmongold getting ganked a load of times for them to come up with that idea. Genius. And as for the community, it's hard to say because there's been quite a few people no longer covering the game because it's no longer interesting. Ashes of Creation's biggest content creator had a full-on meltdown and just left the game, which was pretty impressive and actually exciting for a bit, which has left a huge vacuum when it comes to content for Ashes of Creation. Other than a handful of people I can recommend, Ashes of Creation's content basically revolves around reacting to reactions and re-uploading reactions. It is the most boring shit I've ever seen. Roll on Stephen Sharif doing his 100th interview for the year. And I know what you're thinking right now. What are the player numbers like? Well, it's hard to tell, but the servers, there's only a couple of them now, compared to what they originally had during Phase 1. But if we go with guild sizes, I mean, Pirate Gaming's guild has about 10,000 people alone. So if we use maths to work out that Pirate Gaming has taken over this server with 10,000 players, that means the total population is probably about 10,001 players.
Oh no, I thought I bought rations and I didn't. Bro, this dude is in actual Pirates 13 and wants a different group. What?
So to summarize, Ashes of Creation is not the savior of MMOs. It certainly isn't that much fun to play at the moment, and don't waste your money. But before the Ashes of Creation hate train comes to my comment section, just remember one thing.
That's my opinion!
Did I forget anything? Was that it? Did I get everything? All right, cool. Next. So for this next segment, I just want to reel off some MMOs that I'm personally looking forward to, and some that I think are probably
shit. It's Malakia.
And I know I missed off some other early access MMOs such as Star Citizen, Raven Dawn, and even Core Punk, but I just feel more comfortable talking about the ones I've just covered off. So anyway, let's begin with some MMOs that are coming out in the future, apparently. Roll the slop trailers, let's go. I honestly don't understand the hype around ArcheAge 2, considering how ArcheAge 1 finished, which was, well, people stopped playing it because it was monetized to fuck and severely unbalanced. But hey, roll on ArcheAge 2, which by the way they've already said is going to be more like a single player game than an MMORPG. So go figure that one out. I think they're trying to do a new world and classify themselves as a action MMORPG, whatever that is. Either way, it's scheduled for release in 2025, and they've also changed the name to ArcheAge Chronicles. But yeah, I'm sure it's going to be fine. Another title being published by Kakao Games is Chrono Odyssey, which is a next-generation action MMORPG. God, they're really throwing around that genre this year, aren't they? But apparently, you manipulate time and stuff, and it's open world, and they haven't got a release date yet, but some people speculate either this year or next. But I'm not being funny, just the fact that it's being published by Kakao Games makes me want to avoid it. Dune Awakening is a survival MMO, and it looks to be actually massive. Many people have already played the beta and said positive things about it. It is indeed a PvE and PvP game, so don't worry if you are a bit of a Care Bear, because there is a place for you in this game. Obviously, survival games aren't everyone's cup of tea, but I generally think there's a good game here. This could be contender for Game of the Year, but we'll soon see. Monsters and Memories is a indie fantasy MMORPG scheduled for early access in January 2026. This MMO is going for the classic style, so you boomers out there will probably love it. To quote the developers, it's based on the gameplay, social interaction, and sense of being in a virtual world that we loved in the classic era, early 2000s, of MMORPGs. So yes, it's a certified boomer MMO. But do you know what? It doesn't look too bad. I'll probably give it a go. Stars Reach is a very interesting looking MMO, and it recently just got backed on Kickstarter. I know because I backed it myself. But essentially, it's No Man's Sky, but on crack and with better systems. Well, hopefully, fingers crossed. There's already been a few playtests, and you can sign up now if you go to their Discord, and they are aiming for early access in 2026. But as they say, good things come to those who wait. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, Guild Wars 3 has officially been confirmed now. It had been rumoured for some time that it was going to be on UE5, but now they've had the shareholders meeting, they can confirm it is being worked on. But when will it be released? Well, set your alarm clocks for about 10 years from now. That, I'm being facetious, it's at least 6 years away. 7 years away? And who can forget that Amazon are indeed working on a Lord of the Rings MMO, after initially cancelling it, and then deciding actually we want to do it now. I think everyone's just picturing New World but with a Lord of the Rings skin on top of it, which honestly sounds pretty decent, so I have high hopes for this title, even though it is being made by Amazon. And last one to mention is the ZeniMax MMO Project Kestrel. There is no name to it, there's no IP to it, just a bunch of rumours and some job advertisement. Some people actually think it's a Star Wars MMO, but I've already covered this off on a previous video and gone into great details. I'm just going to link it in the top right here, but essentially, it's not Star Wars, it's probably just going to be, I don't know, Starfield Online, which might be, no, it'll be trash, it'll just be trash. I'm sure the comment section is going to be a very interesting place to read, and I'm sure people will mention that I forgot games like Soulframe, Riot's MMO, and whatever else got cancelled or reactivated. But the truth be told, there's a lot of MMOs we just won't know about until they're actually announced. A lot of them are done in secret, not everyone does open development. I will be very truthful in saying that I felt last year there's more hype for MMOs, especially with Astral Creation, Pax Dei, and a few others. But in typical fashion, a lot of the games were actually disappointing or just simply didn't live up to the hype. Who could have seen that coming? And let's be realistic, the next big MMO isn't going to be one that's been announced and advertised for over the last 10 years. It's going to be something that comes out of nowhere and just hits you like a freight train. But as a whole, I do feel like the genre is in good hands just by looking at some of these promising early access MMOs. I honestly feel like the MMO industry can learn a lot from the indie devs as opposed to these AAA ones. But then again, the AAA ones are still going, so maybe everyone can learn from each other. And on that bombshell, I'm going to end the video there. Let me know in the comment section if I missed any MMOs which you feel I should cover, and especially any that are in early access and I can play now. Also, I ask, if you did like the video, please leave a like, because it indicates to me that people like this slop. I mean, well edited video. Sub for more slop, and I'll leave some more slop on the screen now that you could watch and enjoy. And a thank you to my YouTube members and patrons for helping me fund this slop. Slop. Goodbye for now.